everyone, and welcome. Today we have two frighteningly bizarre stories. Fair warning, the last one's kinda gross, guys, so I hope you can bear through it. Without further hesitation, let's begin. Number 1. Hi, my name is Alex. I was a delivery driver for Jimmy John's. I was there for over 2 years, so I know my way around the job pretty well. Every day I would deliver sandwiches during lunchtime when we were busiest. Most of the calls I got were for business, working people that didn't get a long break or didn't want to leave for lunch. But a couple deliveries a day would go to houses or apartment complexes. One house I would go to almost daily. I would always recognize the address instantly. 4614 on 7th, the house of Miss Moore. It was all the way at the end of town, barely in our delivery area. The first time I delivered there, I had trouble finding it because of all the evergreen trees that had been planted around the edges of the lot. She would always open the door with a smile. Most people did though, but hers seemed more sincere than most. She was a dark-haired girl, slender and light-skinned. I always was fond of delivering to her. She didn't tip well, but I really didn't care. Sometimes it was just really nice to see a friendly face, and hers was the friendliest. She even knew me by name, whereas most customers don't bother to ask. As far as I could tell, she lived alone. I could usually tell a lot about a person by what I could see in their front door. In her case, I didn't have much to go on. A white wall, hardwood floors, things that were probably there before she moved in. One day, I got to see a lot more. It was actually pretty odd from the beginning. The ticket asked for me personally today, which I chalked up for being such a charming guy. When I arrived to the house, the door was ajar. When I rang the doorbell, no one came. I tried giving her a call using the phone number on the ticket. Once again, no response. Not even an answering machine, just an automated robot. I considered closing the door and walking away, like I was probably supposed to do, but a part of me was worried that something happened. So I instead opened the door further and stepped inside. I tried calling for her, but as you probably imagine, nothing happened. From the entryway, I could turn right or go upstairs. I went right. Going upstairs seemed more invasive, and the stairs were carpeted. I wasn't about to take my shoes off in Miss Moore's house, to go walking around her own personal living space? No. So I stuck to the hardwood downstairs. When I entered the next room, I was surprised to see that it was almost entirely empty, with the exception of a couple pieces of furniture and a TV in the corner. The kitchen was also pretty bare, no pictures of family or homey decorative pieces that most people have. The only thing I saw was an old newspaper dated around 2 years ago, turned to an article about a missing woman. There wasn't a picture, only a description of the woman. Tall, blonde, and white. I didn't think anything of it. At the far side of the kitchen, there was a basement door, wide open. I considered calling down, but it felt like I've overstepped my bounds anyway. So I turned and left, but not before leaving her sandwich on the kitchen counter. It was a cash order, so any money not collected would end up coming out of my pocket. But I figured that she more than made up for that in the tips over the years, and she'd probably just get me back next time. When I was driving away, I noticed a man in a suit standing on the sidewalk in the front side of the next house. He glared at me as I drove past, but I didn't know why. I thought maybe I was driving over the speed limit or something. The next day, she ordered again, and once again, she asked for me by name. This is when I realized that something really strange was going on. The front door was wide open again. I thought of every possible reason why this would be the case. Once again, I rang the doorbell, and I gave her a call. Nothing. I didn't intend on walking through her house again, but I pushed the door open a bit to call through. This time, there was something written on the wall. Alex, meet me downstairs. By the way, it wasn't a note. This was written in ink directly on the wall. I did what the message asked and walked into the kitchen, and then I started down the stairs. It was pretty dark, but there was a light at the bottom, so I could see the steps. When I reached the bottom, I stood in a poorly lit but large basement. I began to walk further into the room when I was grabbed around the corner. It was Miss Moore. I was about to speak of my surprise when I saw that she had placed her finger over her mouth to signal to be quiet. I didn't really know what to do. She gestured me to follow her, I went along mostly confused out of my mind. She walked over to the desk and grabbed a piece of paper and handed it to me. I'm paraphrasing off my memory here, but it said something like this. The house is bugged. Don't speak or they will hear you. My daughter was kidnapped in front of me 3 years ago. A few months later, I saw the kidnapper on TV standing next to a congressman. When I told the police, they put me in an interrogation room and told me to wait to give a statement. Before I was able to, men in suits came in and told me I was being put into witness protection. I never got to tell anybody about the kidnapper, and I'm being held here against my will. There was more to the message, but I never got to read it. 2 men came running down the stairs. One was holding a badge of some kind. They told me I had no business here. They took away everything I had, including the note, and they spent the next few minutes asking me a series of questions. Of course, I played dumb. I acted like I didn't get to read the note. They eventually let me go with my stuff and told me never to mention this to anyone. She never ordered again. I drove by her house soon after, but it looked like she had been moved. Both her house and the adjacent one were completely empty. It's been a few years now, but I don't know what to believe. Was she innocent and held against her will? Was a congressman on TV pulling strings to protect his man? Was Moore her real name? These are questions I will have until the day I die. Number 2. This is a recounting of what happened to me a couple years back, after visiting family in Chile. The trip itself was phenomenal, and after about a week of camping in the woods behind their house, I was so happy that I got the chance to go there. It's a beautiful country, and I can sing praise of its inhabitants, but it would seem I just had the worst of luck out there. A couple days after coming back home, I noticed a dull ache in my mouth, where the right molar was chipped vertically in half. I had a particularly shitty dentist back then, who plopped the rotten half of the tooth out and replaced it with an awful crown. Naturally, the bloody thing fell out in a matter of days, and just before my trip to Chile, I wasn't in pain, so I decided to postpone the fix and have some fun. Anyway, dull pain. At first, I was on the intent of ignoring it, as I usually do. I'm not too big on dentists, so I hoped it would just go away on its own. This was nothing like the usual toothache. Mind you, it wasn't debilitating pain, as one would expect. It was just nagging at me tiredly. In retrospect, letting this slide was a stupid thing to do. But bear with me, I'm an exceptionally stubborn person. After a couple days, the ache disappeared completely, which was exactly what I was hoping for. I went about my daily life for about 2 whole months, without any changes at all before things started getting serious. Out of the blue, in the middle of the night, I was woken up. It was an itch, a horrible, maddening itch, right at the place where my tooth was chipped and my gum was exposed. I'm pretty sensitive about my gums, teeth, and mouth in general, and I don't like them having messed with. So I just laid there in the dark, contemplating what was going on. Hell, I'm pretty sure I was tricking myself into thinking nothing was wrong. But it was surreal. The way it was irritated, I absolutely, positively needed to do something. So I went ahead and explored the area with my tongue a bit. The gums were definitely swollen. I still remember how tense it felt compared to the rest of my mouth that night. Almost as if it was going to explode. I led the sensitive surface of my tongue along the soft, coarse gum, when suddenly I realized something was sticking out. It was a tiny, fleshy protrusion. It would have been possible to tell had the surrounding tissue not been swollen. I kept probing at the thing until it retracted inside. Panic hit me, and I started sweating like a pig getting ready for slaughter. Come on, you're a grown man. It's just your mind playing tricks on you, I thought. So I stuck my tongue in the toothless ravine once more, looking for the dreaded thing. It was definitely still there, but it was much harder to feel this time. My sheets were sticking to my skin and my mind was racing. I darted out of bed and got my slippers on and rushed to the bathroom. I dreaded looking at what was going on in there, but I needed to know. I opened my mouth and shone a powerful flashlight towards the area where my tooth was damaged. You know when your mind makes a bigger deal out of something than it actually is? Well, this wasn't one of the cases. My senses were underplaying the severity of the situation. The gum was aflame, swollen much more than I've ever seen it before, and a tiny hole right in the middle of it. What the actual hell? I remember thinking to myself. I picked up a pair of tweezers and poked at the fleshy mound, when a severe pain hit the right side of my face like a truck. At that point, I could swear I saw the damn thing twitch a tiny bit. I honestly don't think I've ever been more terrified in my life than I was that night. I even cried a little bit before grabbing my car keys and driving off to the ER. A doctor told me she knows exactly what it was after poking it a couple times. She said, and I quote, "You're going to be a daddy." She found that statement funny, even though I was confused by the proposition. Apparently, I must have slept with my mouth open or something in Chile, because I got a botfly larva deposited in my mouth. More specifically, right into my gums. The thing incubated for those couple of weeks while masking its own presence with some sort of painkiller it excreted. The disgusting critter was getting ready to leave its comfy little home and was making its way out, which is why it itched. As the fucker was getting pulled out, I gagged like never before. It was humongous, and it was living right inside my mouth. I recovered physically, but I don't think I'll ever come to terms with the fact that I carried a maggot inside my mouth for 2 months. The moral of the story is, get your damn teeth fixed up properly as soon as you can. You never know what might find its way inside otherwise. Are you still here? If you are, I want to thank everyone for the support. It means a great deal to me. Also, if you enjoyed, please like, comment, and maybe subscribe. You guys stay safe out there, and until next time.